to go pick them up. And John came, John Koblasz, to pick us up. And
do you remember what he was driving?
no, I don't.
Was it a brand new car?
Chevy, yeah. It was a new Chevy.
You know, really.
It cost $700.
So it was he was a cool guy, brand new car.
Yes.
And we didn't talk much. He was very, very nice, very good looking, and very polite. And he came back to see us maybe at the second or third day we were there, visiting my uncle. And he wanted to know if I wanted to go sightseeing, see a little bit of New Jersey. And so I went with him. And wasn't your friend with you?
Bill, yeah. We went to a show.
Bill, yeah. And
I brought Bill along for protection.
Is this the guy that died in World War II?
No. He was a big guy that I played football with.
And Uncle Arthur was saw these two big football players, and of course he knew John well, but I never told John this, but he says
It's $5.
he gave me some money. He says if things get a little funny, he said just take a cab and come home. Well, they were just as nice as they could be, and then while we were there, we saw each other more frequently. I can't remember how long I was there. Maybe
You were just there for a couple of weeks.
Were you done with your 2 years at Appalachian State then?
Yes.
And you didn't mention about being a cheerleader.
Oh, well, I had really enjoyed college. It was really something to go, and quite an experience to go by myself to a place where I didn't know anyone. But I soon got acquainted, had nice roommates. And at the end of my freshman year, the beginning of my sophomore year, they wanted tryouts for cheerleading. Well, that was as far-fetched for anything I had ever done in high school. I belonged to a dance club and ballroom dancing, and I was more interested in being on the honor society and the honor roll and things of that nature. But anyway, I forgot where I was.
Well, you were a cheerleader.
Yeah. Oh, I went out to try it out. I was real brave, and we met in the auditorium, and you had to go up one by one and lead a yell, and I did, and I was really scared to death, but I was so surprised when I was picked to be on the squad. He said that I had a very nice smile. He liked my smile.
Did you have to jump around any?
Oh yes, we were a tumbling team. We had to take tumbling, and some of the people did difficult things, but I never stood on anybody's shoulders, but we used to do cartwheels, or one of the cheerleaders would lie on her back with their knees up and with her hands out in front to catch me, and I'd run and take a flying leap and hit her knees and make a flip. There were other things that we did, but only a few of them learned to stand on somebody's shoulders. That was very hard. But as a matter of fact, we were the worst tumbling team in that county. But I really enjoyed it, and I even had some publicity. I had my picture in the front of two of the bigger cities in North Carolina. There were 3 of us that made straight A's all year, and incidentally, I still have that picture.
Okay, so you're in Island, New Jersey.
No, Seawarren.
Seawarren, New Jersey, and just visiting for the summer.
Yeah.
So did you go back to Tampa or
Well,
Orlando or?
But at that time, we were living in Orlando. And, well, we were really quite serious. I know I was. It was like love at first sight. And instead of going back to college, I went up that September to Islin to stay with my grandmothers so I could see
No,
John.
it wasn't Islin, it was Seawarren.
Seawarren.
Yeah.
That's right, I'm sorry, that's right.
You had some family up in Islin, but Arthur was down in Seawarren.
Yeah, to me that was all the same.
So how long did you stay there?
A couple of weeks.
No longer than that.
I don't remember.
We were, remember in December, when you got the news he was in the first group to be drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And incidentally, I can't remember when we got engaged. When did you buy me a ring?
I don't remember buying you a ring.
Yeah, don't you
I
remember?
probably gave you one of my old rings.
No, you did, because you
That's right.
showed it to your brother-in-law,
I got
and he
it.
said there was a flaw in it, and you were just crushed, because who in the heck would see the flaw in the ring? I didn't see it, the
that was-
diamonds.
yeah.
But anyway, we became...
Do you still have that ring?
Yeah, I do, but I think it's...
That's the original engagement ring.
yeah,
It had a diamond in it?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good diamond. It was,
But you still have it.
yeah.
she don't know where.
It's got to be in one of the jewelry drawers.
We gotta find that.
Anyway.
Market Exhibit A.
Yeah, so we got engaged, and we just thought, well, we'd wait till after the war to get married. So I came back home, and he went to, what was that place? in
Camp
North-
Croft?
Camp Croft,
Where was that?
Basic training, South Carolina.
and we corresponded, and then,
I got shipped to New York.
yes, that's right, he went to New York, and then when,
Why don't we let him take over now?
yeah.
So you got shipped to New York. But where's the football background? There's the football background.
Football was before I went into the war. Before the war, I was playing semi-pro football, and she was down there visiting Uncle Arthur in Seawarren.
Did she ever see a game?
Oh yeah, she came to watch me play. I didn't play good, but she was just mediocre, and she enjoyed it. So then
Okay, so now what about South Carolina to New York? What are you doing in New York?
South Carolina, I was in basic training down over there, and she came up to see me in basic training, and that's where she found a guy that will marry you for $3, and I went over there with her and got married for $3. And
First, we went to see the priest, and he said, what do you want to do? And I told him we wanted to get married. He said, go back home, wait till after the war.
he wasn't too smart, but he thought he was smart. Anyhow, we went to she came up to Seawarren, and I was in Woodbridge, which was right next door to each other, and I used to come down and take her out, and we used to go down to the riverfront and make out.
Did you ever go to any of the big band shows?
No, she didn't, but I used to. There was a place in Perth Amboy, which is the next city over, and my brother-in-law was the bouncer over there.
Who's that?
Steve Renda. And he used to get me into it. Every Saturday night there was a big name band coming through, and they had a dance over there. They'd pick up extra money before they go to the nightclubs on the Jersey side.
John, we were married at Camp Croft.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's South Carolina.
I know.
He's talking before before you came along?
Before, we went, he was asking me if there was any big bands that we used to go to. I used to go to the band, but you
New
didn't
Jersey.
know.
No, I'm
No.
sorry.
Why didn't you take her to one of the big bands?
Well, I don't remember.
Because you were sneaking in.
I don't remember.
You were embarrassed
But I
that you were so
think-
cheap.
I think that going to those things were things, that going for the band with Steve, that was before
Before our time, yeah.
Before my time, yes.
Yeah. See, they'd all come through Perth Amboy, and Steve was the bouncer, and he's my brother-in-law, and he'd get me in free, and I'd go up there and dance.
All right, so New York, you're doing MP duty, is that it?
That's when I got in the service. I was put to New York, to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn Army Base, and used to pull duty, MP duty on New York City, and all the ball games and streets and what have you, and really we just walked the streets and broke up fights and took in the drunken kids and what have you. And
So
there was nothing really exciting. The only exciting part of it was a ferry boat from Staten Island to New York, where this lieutenant was over there, and he was on the damn deck of the boat, and he had to go to the bathroom, so he's relieving himself on the deck. And I walked over and I tapped him on the shoulder to tell him he can't do that here, and he turned on, huh, and he peed on me. And I swatted him in the face.
Punched him in the nose?
I didn't chop across the face, and he knew that the MP on duty on that boat was the one that did it. He didn't know me, and he called our company commander, and then I was court-martialed so that it would make it legal, and the captain found out what it was. He says, I would have done the same damn thing.
Well, at that particular time, people here at Court Martial, they think that you were thrown out. You were brought to trial for an offense.
Well, in the Army, you had 3 different versions of court-martial. One was next to nothing, tap on the hand, and the next one was a little time in the brig, and then the third one was a lot of time in the brig and dishonorable discharge.
So what'd you get for hitting
Just
the officer?
tap on the hand.
Oh.
Didn't get nothing out of it.
So did you ship to Europe from New York?
Yeah. On the Queen Lizzie.
And then you went to where?
When we went to Queen, we got on the ship on New York, went over to Queen Lizzie, and I says, holy moly, they did nothing to this Atlantic. We went over there in 4 days' time, and I mean, that boat was really moving.
He was zigzagging.
Yeah, zigzagging. One time they told us to wear 2 sets of uniform, wool uniform, in case you would go into the water, and that would help us out a little bit. And one day we were somewhere, I don't know where, and I was sweating like a mule. I said, where are we? He said, we're off the Azore Islands. So that's the way, New York, down to the Azore Islands, and then shot on up to bypass the U-boats.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in very well.
Where'd you go in England?
Into England, Forth of Clyde. That was the northern part of England. And then we got on a train and we're coming down to England, and they were bombing all around us, and bombs were falling and blowing everything up, and we didn't even know what it was. We said, well, what's all that noise? And this is because the train had no lights on the train, and the guards that were on the train, they said that they're bombing all around us. So we got down there, and the guy says, you're going to be in a castle. And I says, wow. And we got in a castle, all right. And that damn big old thing was so cold. I've never had it so cold in my life.
Was that in Cardiff?
That was in Cardiff, yeah, Wales.
There's one important event you forgot to mention.
What?
When you were pulled out of your group and you were in New York City, I came up and lived with your mother.
Oh.
And that's when...
you learned everything, how to cook and Gary stuff.
Yeah, I learned that.
And you learned the language.
But I got pregnant and we had John.
Mm-hmm.
And he was born in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, because that was the closest house. But when you went overseas, young John and I came home to my mother.
Well, was Johnny born before he went or after?
Before I went
Before.
over.
Oh, so he saw the baby.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
for 2 years.
As a matter of fact, I didn't have much money, and they had a big old teddy bear over there, I still remember. And it took all of my money to buy that big teddy bear. And she was staying with my sister in New York City. And I went in the house with the big teddy bear, and I gave it to John, and he looked at it, and he screamed, and he ran away. Yeah, he didn't want no part of it.
It scared him.
He was always obnoxious, you know.
No, he wasn't. He was 2 years old when his daddy went overseas, and I came back home to Orlando.
So you lived in Orlando. Now this is an interesting part about the money coming home and you're building a house.
Yeah.
Well, while I was overseas, she wrote me a letter. She says, would it be all right if I build a home while you're overseas? And I says, it's all right with me, I can't help you. So she got out there and drew a plan up and got going to building a house, and her and her father and her uncle and everybody else got into the house. Uncle Ralph put the roof on it and what have you. And I came home from overseas, and I had a house over there. We didn't have no furniture. We had nail kegs.
No, we did. We had furniture. We had my mama's stuff.
I remember a nail keg that I was sitting on.
No.
Anyway, she built a home while I was overseas, and I never once had to pay rent. So I was very fortunate because she took care of everything.
I took the back of a calendar, and I drew a house. I didn't know anything about blueprints, but anyway, and it was like on a half-inch scale, so it filled the back of a big calendar, and Daddy knew some builders, and there was one that said he would build a house. And I didn't tell them that I drew the plans. I made them think that somebody else did. I didn't think they would follow it.
But it was a good house. It was well built.
And when he came home, we added on to that house to make it a 3-bedroom house. But then it wasn't until, what prompted
Well, we built this home over here. We were in an area that we couldn't go away without somebody trying to rob us. We got robbed 3 times, and we decided, no, let's get out of this place. This place is getting rough. And you found the area right here where we are now, and we had a home built on it.
And this is, Arthur was born here.
Mm-hmm.
So John is a Yankee, and his
Arthur was born in Orlando, and John was in Perth Amboy.
His brother was a little Southern rebel.
All right, shift to Cardiff. What happens after Cardiff? Are you in Cardiff for a long time? England. Wales.
England, yeah. I went overseas, and we were gone. I was gone for, I think, better than 2 years. And
so how long were you? Somehow you were in London for a while, right?
yeah, I was in London, and not London. I was in a little dinky town called Avonmouth, and I was never so surprised to see the ships come in high tide, and then it would be low tide, and the ships would be sitting in the mud. That's the thing I remember about Avonmouth, and I never saw that before. And
Did you walk a beat?
in the MPs, yeah, but I used to patrol Bristol, England, and it was a big city. I don't know, it was down in Cardiff. I think that's the southern part of England, and we had all kinds of things over there. The only thing that I remember is that one night I was coming home from Bristol, and my buddy and I had a Jeep, and there was all kinds of howling and screaming over there, and I stopped and see what it was, and what happened was that these people on a curb were waiting for a bus, and then black truck driver went up on the curb and he bumped a couple of them. He didn't do any damage, and they were ready to string him up over there. They were really hostile. So we went over there and we got some information and we put those two guys under arrest. And one of my buddy drove the truck back home, and because of that I got court-martialed. And he was a truck driver that went down to the piers and all, and he says to me, would you like to have one of those new Eisenhower jackets that come out that it was just a short one? I had the jacket that went down to my hips, and the coat, and I said, sure. So he came over and he gave me that jacket, and I didn't even wear it. I put it in my box in front of my bed. That was my
Foot Locker.
Foot Locker, yeah. And they had a Foot Locker shaped on it, and damn it, they didn't find it. So they wanted to know, how did I get it? Because I'm not down on the piers, they know that. Who gave me that? And I told them, I said, I couldn't tell you if my life depended on it, because I couldn't. And they took it away from me, and I got extra duty for that.
Explain the nature of that type of court-martial. Use
Well,
terminology that means...
That's summary court-martial. That's a pat on the hands. There's an officer sitting over there, and he says, I am now court-martialing you. This is a summary court-martial. Well, there are 3 court-martials, summary and I don't know, one, and there's a major one where you get kicked out and put in jail.
Yeah. So that was number 2 court-martial.
Yeah.
You were a bad boy.
No. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
All right, so now how do you wind up getting shipped over to the old Europe, the mainland?
The mainland? Well, one morning they called Reveille to see that everybody was there, because where we were stationed, we could get overnight passes and we could just stay out all night and want to make sure everybody's back home. And after they got through calling all that, and attending and to see who's there and who isn't, then they called out a few names, and my name was one of them. And they said, you stay here until the rest of it is dismissed. And they all took off, and we stood there, and they says, you are going into infantry. And we said, huh? So we packed our clothes, and we went down to Southampton. And they put us to a drill over there, and they put us in the infantry. And when the Battle of the Bulge started, they put everybody up there in the front lines, and all hell would broke loose, and we were just ducking for hell. And
well, now, did you go straight from Southampton all the way to Belgium?
I went from Southampton across the Irish River over there, whatever that bay is there. I don't know.
The English Channel?
English Channel, yeah. And let me tell you, that was one rough place. Oh my God, I never saw waves. Yes, I did too, coming home on that boat.
So you went straight over to
France?
France?
They had trucks over there waiting for us, and we got on the trucks and they moved us right on up to the front lines.
Straight from France all the way to the front lines?
Yeah. There was Verdun, Belgium is where I remember we landed. I remember the name of the place. Not Verdun, Viviers, Belgium.
So, okay, so they put you on a truck and bring you right up to the front line.
Yeah.
And so what was that like?
But we asked, one of the guys says, where are we now? And they told us Viviers, and which was right across the German border. Aachen was right across the border. And they were shooting, we were shooting.
So how long did that last?
That lasted maybe about 3 or 4 days.
What about the training? There was something horrible about that.
The train ride going...
The training, where they didn't let you eat.
The train
No, that was they had, when you walked.
No, I thought that there was a training to get you ready for the Battle of the Bulge, where they wouldn't let you eat.
Well, to the battle, to get us into the infantry ready to be soldiers and to miss meals. I went from 225 pounds to 145 pounds in 4 months' time.
Was that including the bulge, or was
No,
it
that was before.
before you went over?
Yeah.
Went from 225.
5 to 145. They would put a guard, an armed guard over the garbage, so nobody would go over there and eat out of it. Again, we would just get so much to eat. That was it.
So there was 4 months training for the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
And that was in England?
In England, yeah.
Do you remember where?
Yeah, it was in
Not Southampton.
no, Southampton was where I shipped out of England. Avonmouth was where I was stationed, but I don't know where that town was. It was in the moors, I know that. And they always used to say, don't try to get out of here, you're out in the moors, and if you take off on your own, you stop from going overseas, because they would call that overseas, you go from England to France. And they said there are a lot of quicksand over here, and nobody will find you, and you'd be sucked in. They scared the hell out of us.
Live ammunition?
Where,
In the training camp?
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing that scared me more than anything was over at the moors, they had cliffs way down, and you had to climb. I went to the different, what do you call that, when you go into the machine?
Obstacle course?
Obstacle course. But this here, you climbed a rope from one edge of the cliff over to the other edge of the cliff, and if you fell, goodbye, Joe, you fell.
Anyone fall?
Yeah, a couple, a Chinese boy fell.
Really?
Yeah, he was shaking in his boots, and he got about halfway over, and he's yelling, help me, I can't go no more. And the guy was in command over there. He says, if you want to stay alive, get over the other side, you're on your own. And he made about 2 more moves and down.
He died?
Yeah. You know, that cliff was about 30, 40 feet.
So now you go to Belgium, and then you're at the front lines at the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
And what's it look like? Are there a bunch of tanks
It
everywhere?
didn't look like anything. It looked like a lot of noise.
Just a big field or
and
trees?
Big open woods. The Ardennes Forest or some damn thing like that they called it.
Were there tanks all around
Oh,
you?
there was tanks galore all around. I never saw so many tanks. And there was snow and ice on the ground. And if you got behind the tank and when they fired, that tank come shooting back like a recoil from the gun. Don't ever stand behind one because it will squash you.
So it was several days, and
We went over there, I would say maybe about 3 or 4 days while they were having a duel with the tanks. And then they broke through the German tanks, and we started going, and we started running like hell after the tanks. There was no way of walking, it was running.
and then what's the enemy doing? Running?
The enemy was backpedaling, yeah. He was running backwards, and we were running forward. And the amazing part about that was that they'd always have cannons flying all that, and you could hear those cannon shots going. You could